Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. We'll call this meeting, Koochiching County Board of Commissioners, to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first item of business is to approve the agenda with a lot of additions here.
Excuse me, Jenny, could you verify that I'm joining this meeting, this Barb Nelson, or Daryl Nelson? Did this go through?
Yep, we can hear you.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I'll move with the additions, Mr. Chair.
we've got a motion
A second.
and a second to approve with the additions. Any questions or comments on those? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Gee, it feels good to be at a desk again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me, could I get that first and second? I couldn't make out who it was.
Well,
Jason.
and then you were the
And
second.
then I made the second.
Oh, motion, okay.
Jason made the motion, and then I made the second.
Okay, thank you.
Aye. Do we have enough chairs here, you guys?
So far we do. Yeah, there's a lot over
Locked
here
up?
too.
All right, over here. Okay.
You can move them a little further apart if you need to, or if you feel more comfortable.
Thank you. I'll see where I can hear the best.
Yeah,
I
okay,
have trouble hearing.
okay.
Where are we?
We can always put you up
Financial
here,
business?
so.
We haven't done the budget. Okay. All right. Back to the board here. We've got to approve the minutes for March 8th.
I'll move minutes as well, Mr. Chair.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Jason and Terry.
Thank you.
I'll do that. I'll keep her.
Boy, Betsy, it looks like you're right over my shoulder here.
I'm watching you close,
Adult supervision.
right?
All right, so Jason and Terry, any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. Now down to financial business.
Mr. Chair, I will move on the courthouse claims, the, to approve the highway claims and ratify March 10th claim, approve public health and human service claims, and the burial payments.
I'll second that.
And does that include the addition number 2?
That was
Yeah,
Kevin and Terry.
Thank you.
And we've got that is the addition there. Okay, all right.
With the addition.
All right.
I got one question, Mr. Chair, on, I don't know if I can find it. Why is it that, I don't know if you know this one, or maybe Betsy does. It's only about 3 pages in. Why is it that we have a bill on here for the International Falls Police Department for $4,328.99?
Did you hear that, Betsy? He's wondering about a bill for the police department of a few $100.
Is this under courthouse claims or highway claims?
General revenue?
So courthouse claims, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get there. Do you know what page it is on the claim number? On the
It's-
claim page?
Number 92?
Page 92. Oh, okay, that's the claim, okay.
Yeah, claim 92, I guess.
Page 4.
I'm getting there right now.
Page 4.
Well, that must be under highway claims then.
No, that's revenue. Did you want me to
Is
speak?
this revenue? Okay.
Oh, we got someone here that
All
can tell
right.
us.
Margaret Hyam from accounting. The claim for International Falls Police Department was a reimbursement for equipment related to Stone Garden.
Oh, Stone Garden Grant? Okay.
Oh, yes. Thank you,
Okay.
Margaret.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions or comments? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down to human resource business.
Good morning.
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 Just have some notice of hires to share with you guys today. First one we have is for Marilyn Hannon. She was hired as a part-time E911 dispatcher correction officer, and she started on March 15th. Then I also have a notice of hire for a part-time dispatcher correction officer of Max Olson. He started on March 11th. And then we have a notice of hire for Robert Sweeney. He was hired as a full-time E911 dispatch correction officer, and he started on March 11th as well.
Okay.
And these are just notices, so we don't need any motions or anything.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we'll move on into, oh, yeah.
Addition number 1.
Why do we take the addition on number 1, yeah? What did they do with that?
It's right there.
There. Yeah. Okay, we just got a copy of this today too, so you guys get a chance to read this? Or it may be just for the audience. I guess I could go over these real quick. Or I'll let you.
Want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This is County Administration Director Jenny Herman has been on Intermediate Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA leave, since February 2nd, 2022, working on a part-time basis, primary from home. As of March 14th, 2022, she indicated that she was transitioning to a full-time FMLA leave until the middle of April. In light of that transaction, the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners needs to consider how to ensure that critical work is being done. The Management Committee recently met and is recommending the following. Betsy Zarin, County Administrative Assistant, will temporarily step up with additional compensation based on County Administration Director salary. Janelle Peterson, Human Service Resource Director, will temporarily step up to assist with additional compensation to be determined. Teresa Jackson Briggs, former County Administrative Director, is willing to temporarily assist Betsy Zarin on a contract basis at County Administrative Director salary on an hourly basis.
All right, any comments or questions on that? We would need a motion.
I'll move.
All right, we've
I'll
got a
second.
motion by Jason, second by Terry.
Jason and Terry.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Now we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries, and I certainly want to thank people for stepping up here so we can keep things moving. Greatly appreciated. Okay, we'll move on. We need to appoint a member to serve on the Koochiching County Extension Committee.
Where's that at?
Be number 5.
On the regular one. Okay.
Yeah.
Appoint member.
Excuse me.
Oh, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair,
Sure.
If I could?
Go ahead, Betsy.
Thank you. This is for Jodie Brewer, who has served on this board in the past and is willing to serve again. And so the extension committee just needs it passed by the commissioners, by the board, so that they can get her appointed officially.
So we better do it before change their mind, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Mr. Chair, I will move to accept Jodie Reller to the Extension Committee. She's been on there 2 years or 4 years? She's been on there a period of time anyhow. And she's a 3-year term. Been involved with 4-H and she's a farm girl and all that good stuff. So I'll move on that.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Ady. Second by Commissioner.
I don't know.
You were both going, so.
No, I was pointing at him.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Murray. Any discussion? Sounds like a good person.
Oh,
Yes, thank
very
you.
good.
Yep, that's great person to have on that there, so
Yes.
very
Yep.
dynamic.
Yep.
I agree.
Call the question then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That was Kevin and Jason. Or no, Kevin and me.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, we'll be glad when you're back home to keep an eye on us here.
I'll be glad too.
Adult supervision, yeah. Okay, we'll move on then to, we've got a resolution for tasking districts for the fall ambulance service.
Yes.
Appoint 2 members.
Point 2 members.
2 members, yeah.
And this is for a steering committee.
I would like to speak on that if I may.
Advisory committee.
Please, go ahead.
I'm Robert Ewald. I live on the truck route, Highway 332 or County Road, whatever it is now. Do you guys have any information, or I've been south, so I didn't know if they had more meetings in this taxing district or where you're at on it. I am thoroughly opposed to it. I don't know how much the city spends on an ambulance service. I don't know what their plan is. I think they should maybe meet with the hospital and the Good Sam Center to work on something too. And when they updated their ambulance service about 15, 20 years ago, they went first class when Jerry Jensen was fire chief. And I believe it's now a full-time facility. And I don't believe a community of this size can afford that. And I don't think the county taxpayers, who a lot of them are fairly poor, should have to subsidize the city. You know, when they put this together the way it is now, they didn't ask for any input, they didn't ask for any help with it. Now all of a sudden it's losing money and they want us to bail them out, is my opinion. And I'm strongly opposed to it. I guess just until we know more, if the board was interested at all in getting a committee to meet with the city and see what kind of expenses and costs and everything else they have, I would serve on that.
Well, maybe we can update just quickly where we're at.
Okay, that would be good.
Obviously, we heard a lot of those concerns and from Rainier in particular. And so to that end, before we started doing anything, we decided to get together and have a meeting. And out of that meeting came an agreement that, at least at this point, what we're looking at is having equal representation so that it isn't just International Falls. I mean, that's never going to work, and the county, I know, would never approve that. And I think where we left it, we haven't gone any further than looking for the members, but we're going to have 2 from, and if I remember right, 2 from International Falls, of course, 2 from Captogamat?
No, 2 from Rainier.
2 from Rainier.
And St. Louis to be determined.
St. Louis County to be determined. Captogamat is part of this district. That's what that was. So whether that be 1 or 2. And then, did the county have representation on there?
Yep.
2 members also. So that group then would be able to, you know, if that goes forward, and like I said, we're going to have to have everyone in agreement, that would be the body that would move forward with how we're going to do the ambulance district. I know we had so many meetings with them, and there just was not any agreement. So this is what we all came to, and everyone said we could do this.
Well, that sounds fair. That was a lot of my concern, was leaving the city in charge with a blank check, basically. So I guess I can live with that. But if you do need anybody to serve or extra or whatever, I would be happy to listen in and give my 2 cents worth.
Well, one of the things we didn't talk about, but probably could have too, was having 2 citizens there. It's kind of nice to have citizen input also.
Yeah.
So that's something we can look at when we get this group together. But anyway, that's where we're at right now, trying to put it together. They had gone ahead and done all this stuff. It's very expensive, and so they're kind of hurting for money on that connection also. So they're anxious to get it done, I think, at this point. So that's where it's at. We're just putting together the members and we'll get it together, and that'll be open to the public. So.
Well, it is a great ambulance service.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
no qualms with that, but, the city has 6,700 people, the county has about the same or a little more. How much can we afford for? And that old ambulance, I believe, worked pretty well before they went this far. I think they went a little too far myself.
Actually, it was brought to my attention that what they had gone into here is like big cities do, where they've got full-time people just sitting and waiting for a call if a call comes, instead of what they've had in the past. Where
like you would have in Duluth or the cities, we're not a big city. Well, that's about all I have to say. And thank you for clarifying, because I've been gone for 2 months. Otherwise, I would have been more of these meetings and see what's going on better.
Did you go down south?
I was in Florida.
Well, good for you.
It wasn't 40 below even one day. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, in fact, here's the copy. You guys all have this one?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I will move on the appointment of Jason and Terry, as was brought up at the meeting before. I think both of them will be a good asset to that committee.
Well, speak for yourself. No, they do a good job.
Any one of us would be, I think, so.
So is that a motion I'm hearing?
Yeah.
All right. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second, even though I'm the person.
I suppose I could step down and second you without, no, you can do it. We're okay there. Any questions or comments on that? Yeah, here it is, a laser right out. In fact, I'll pass it around so everyone sees it. 2 representatives from the city of Rainier, 2 from the International Falls, 2 from Koochiching, undetermined from St. Louis County, but they're probably going to want 2 members too, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard from them.
Notice is here.
We need to sign that?
No, we need to change that to the Koochiching.
Oh, yeah, good point, yeah. Pretty much, that's what she said. All right, so any further questions on that? We've got 2 great volunteers. Betsy, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So the resolution that's attached there does need your review, and then we would need to include that in the motion or do the individual motion for that would be approved, because we do need to get that sent into the city of International Falls.
All right, so what we're really approving is the piece we had here with the...
With some changes. We have 2 changes we need on it.
Okay, let's have it.
Instead of Rainier, International or Koochiching County on the top, and the signature.
Okay.
Anything else, Jason?
That's all I see.
That was all he saw.
I will definitely make those updates, and then I'll send that out to everybody.
Thank you.
It's good, Jason, you caught that stuff.
We got one of them.
Yes, thank you very much.
Try not to do any bad.
So, any further questions, comments? Call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and hopefully we...
Kevin and Terry.
Jason
Thank
and
you.
Terry. Oh, did the motion. Okay.
You just sit there and do it. Talk.
Okay, we'll move on then. KTI request for a host site for temporary position. Betsy, you probably have to enlighten us there.
Sure, I can take that on. This temporary position is proposed by KTI, Koochiching Technology Initiative. And they've been doing a lot of work on this, and it is actually through AmeriCorps, I think that's, or Lead America, which is an arm of AmeriCorps. And what it is they would go out and look for what they're calling a fellow. And this person would come forward, would be hired by Lead America, and they would be an employee of Lead America and covered under their workman's comp and under their liability. So it wouldn't be anything to us. And this person would then work on expanding the broadband and the technology in Koochiching County. And they would be working for a year and be under the supervision of either Jim Yunt or Jackie Nagel, who are both on the KTI board. And what they would need, what they're requesting of the county is that we have donate an office space that would include telephone and internet capabilities. And apparently there is a laptop that is assigned to this person. So I don't believe it means that we would need to even, have PC available. But if so, we do have some spares available that that are just kind of sitting and waiting to be put into use. So really what they're asking for is a motion to approve us being the host for this person that would be hired by Lead America.
And we had had the discussion here at the board, but the public didn't know, so that's good. Thank you, Betsy.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments?
Well, it's going to be a great addition. I also sit on the KTI committee, and this will be an excellent addition. A lot of this work was getting done, and it is still getting done in-house with the IT department, and they have other responsibilities. This year, we're still going to keep them a part of all of this, obviously, and but yeah, there's lots of needs out there, and they're going to be able to catalog these needs and hopefully put packages together for grants, and that's what I envision at least. And it's going to be technology-based countywide.
Awesome.
I'm still kind of in the telegraph days, but...
You are?
All
Looking
right.
for a motion? I'll make that motion.
Yes, motion by Terry.
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Terry and
Sheriff's
Kevin.
business.
Terry and Kevin.
How's it going?
Good. All right, so the first business I have is this, our temp hire for the jury bailiff. Just a little background on the jury bailiff. When we have a jury trial, we have 2 armed bailiffs, and then we have the jury bailiff. Judge Tremone runs a very tight ship, and we had meetings, I think it was a week or 2 ago, and one of the things he stressed a lot on was the importance of the jury bailiff. There are a lot of procedures and rules that have to be followed with that jury, and this person essentially babysits them through the whole trial. When they go to deliberation, she is one of the only people that can have contact with the jury. And it's very important because if we end up with a tainted jury, and of course we have a mistrial, we're wasting everyone's time and money to retry cases and stuff. So, and as long as I can remember, it's been the $13 an hour. I think it's been, I'd mentioned since 2014, I bet it's been longer than that. But, and even with the raise up to the 18, that jury bailiff is still going to be significantly under, obviously, the armed bailiffs, but just like to narrow that gap a little bit if we could. And again, the impact on our overall budget is very minimal. This year, we only have 18 hours paid out so far for jury bailiff. So again, you're looking at a roughly $500 impact for what it would have been last year in our overall budget, which is pretty minimal, I think we can agree to.
just for clarification, your request is for $18?
18 an hour. It's at 13 currently.
Okay.
It's in the budget.
Yeah. 104 hours.
Yeah, so if we increase it by $5 an hour, I mean, it's very little impact on our budget.
Well, I'm
Well, I
fine
know
with
at
it.
$13 an hour, the pizza maker at Sammy's makes $2 more than that, so I would think an important position like this, $18 an hour probably is still low, but that's what you're asking for, and I'll make a motion to approve that. It's all right?
13, that's about your rate.
I agree, and I will second.
We've got a motion by Terry, second by Jason to approve as requested. Any questions or comments? Well, I can see where it's got to be done. So. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Terry and Jason.
Thank you.
2020 Operation Stone Garden.
Yep, our annual Stone Garden grant. We're the facilitator of the grant. We work it as well as the City of International Falls and the DNR conservation officers. Total grant's $165,000. No county dollars to match that or anything, so.
Wishes of the board.
I'll move on that, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by Kevin,
I'll second.
second by Terry. Any questions, comments?
It's been a good program for the county and the city, but
Yes.
primarily the county, because,
You know, we've gotten a lot of equipment.
yep,
The current grant we're working, 2019, they're giving us $35,000 for a squad. A couple of years or 2 years ago, we got 2 brand new snowmobiles off
Yep.
that grant. And of course, they're leaning a little more towards the overtime hours, and they're trying to pare down the equipment a little bit. But yet they do realize that you know, when we're using these machines, and we do a lot of patrol on the water.
Yep.
This is where the Border Patrol needs help. But even for that, I'll be coming to you guys next meeting. I've secured a state grant through the DNR for a new boat motor for our main patrol boat. It's a little over $22,000 that I got, so but I'll be bringing that.
Stone Garden covers all of that.
Well, the truck, the squad truck, and the snowmobiles that we recently got were Stone Garden, but this boat motor is another one through the DNR grant that I was able to get.
Awesome.
And also the Stone Garden grant. I think, since I've been chief deputy, I think we've paid for 2 sets of squad tires out of county money. I've always managed to get that through these grants. So it's this grant is huge for the sheriff's office.
Yep.
Not only in the equipment aspect, but the help we can give Border Patrol.
yep.
Because they're running very thin right now, sending people to the southern border on 1-month rotations. So they really only are afforded a couple patrol vehicles per day during a day shift. So we're trying to help them out at night.
Okay,
What a different world
yeah,
we're living in.
yep.
All right, any comments, questions? If not, call a or do we have a motion second?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. I just need the board to
Thanks, John.
Kevin and Terry, if I didn't tell you yet.
sign right there.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to Public Health and Human Services. We've warrant voids.
I'll move on that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we've got a motion by Kevin,
Second, Mr. Chair.
and we've got a second. Are we, any questions on that? You're familiar with these all the time, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we have burial payments.
That's already been done.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Was this right? Kevin and Jason.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm ever wrong, that give me a holler. Sometimes over 10 seconds, my memory starts slipping.
Okay, we'll move on to IS business, information systems. Surplus equipment to KEDA for assistance in the local free income tax preparation service. There's our expert.
Yeah. This is just donating some excess equipment to KEDA to assist them with their low income and senior tax preparation. They usually do this every year. This year there's just been some scrambled. AARP hasn't been a part of it, but KEDA, Joanne especially, has picked up the reins to try to keep it going as best we can. Joanne, I know you were on the call if you needed to add anything to this, or if you had a comment or question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I guess what we would want to do too is take these computers and have like a computer cart type deal where we would have computers and maybe a printer or whatever else, and have a cart, and the cart would be available to anyone in the county that would like to use it for if it's workshops or those types of things, that this service would be available to use and get these computers so that people can do programs like that to help people who may not have the internet or are learning different things on the internet. So I think that this is a great idea, and I appreciate you for thinking about it.
Go ahead, please, Jason.
Say, Joanne, where are these locations at again that you're setting up?
So right now we have one in Bacchus for the tax, and we also have one in North Home at the library. And we have over 100 people that have signed up to get help with their taxes already. And I keep opening up more spots each day on our calendar.
Great news. Thank you for grabbing hold of this and going with it. Hey, it's definitely a positive, and I appreciate you, taking care of that.
How many, what was it, three or five computers?
Five total.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 computers and monitors. All excess equipment that's already been removed from inventory and everything.
Great use.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? Pretty quiet.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Please, go ahead.
If I could just address Joanne. Joanne, how are the volunteers for doing the tax preparation? Do you have enough of those now, or are you still looking for volunteers?
For Northam, we have that covered. That's pretty good. But for the International Fall site, we could use some more volunteers. Sue Nolan, who she has helped with AARP in the past, she is doing basically most of it by herself, and I've added some hours for myself just to try to get people in. But we could use a couple more volunteers for International Fall. So if anybody's interested, and you don't have to be a tax expert, just know basics of computers, and we can help you. And we do have the CPA set up in town, so we have been giving him some of the tax returns that are more difficult and getting those done, and then he will build KEDA for those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions or comments? Now we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Do we have a first and a second on that?
Do we get a first and second on that, Betsy?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'll make that motion.
We'll back up.
Second.
All right, we've got the motion and the second.
Terry and Jason.
All right. Now all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You get to get out of here free.
Thank you, and thank you very much for you guys willing to do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Shelley's going to.
Thank you, Joanne.
For Bon. Yeah. Shelley?
I get to go on the
Auditor treasurer business, and there's lots of it.
Shelley Johnson, Auditor Treasurer's Office. I'm standing in for Tom West, who unfortunately is in St. John's down in the Caribbean.
Suffering.
Suffering,
That's
yeah.
gotta be hard.
Okay, what I have is the HAVA grant, and that HAVA stands for Help America Vote Act. And it's through the state of Minnesota. We just need approval to authorize the signing of the grant, which will be done when Tom gets back next week. This helps out with basic things that we need for protection. So this year, if we want to hire, say we want to hire law enforcement to come and stand at the polling places, this will cover that, basically. Any questions?
Interesting reading, right?
Always.
Oh, the government puts a lot of stuff in to get something done, but yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's just for protection and stuff like that.
All right. Any?
Madam Chair,
Yeah, please, go ahead.
should I go first?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so what the motion really needs to state then is to approve the grant language and then authorize the appropriate county signatures.
Okay. You guys got that?
I'll make that motion if you want to write it down for me.
Okay.
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, second by
Kevin seconded it.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question, if I'm allowed, if I may, this is Joanne.
Yep, please, Joanne.
Is the protection for, like, just the county building, or is it for the county, or the schools, or how?
It's for the election places, for the polling places, on the days of the election.
Okay, thank you, I didn't hear that right.
Yeah, to keep them secure.
Security, that was the word I wanted. I couldn't come up with it. I should have taken notes.
Kevin, please.
This includes for the primary election as well, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, also, we have to have a camera that shines on the box where you can put your ballots. Right now, the recorder's office uses that mailbox on the outside of the building. Tom would like to get a camera that shines right on it because that's part of what the state wants. Yeah. And some of this money will go towards that camera. I forgot that part.
That's probably a good idea so that people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay.
Good.
So, any other comments? Hearing none, call a question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You talked us into it.
Good.
Good job.
So, and then also I've got a second one here, and that is for the temporary hire of Robert Peterson, the former auditor treasurer. He has been helping in our office since Tom's been gone because we have a new person that just started, and it's too early to let her be by herself, and this way I get a lunch hour.
And I can't thank Bob enough for being willing to step.
Oh, I know. He's great. And also, he also helps out with the elections.
Well, wishes of the board.
I'll move.
We got a motion by Kevin and a second by Jason. Any questions, comments? Tell him thank you.
I will do that.
Right.
He's coming in at 11.
Oh, good. You'll be right back in the grind, yeah.
Oh, he is. He is. He loves it.
Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Kevin and Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to highway business. Uh-oh.
Morning.
Here's someone we can pick.
You think you'll be here a while, Alex?
Yeah. It's very nice to have this set up again. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I don't focus in on folks here, I had eye surgery last week, so it's tough for me to.
How'd that go?
Hopefully good. It takes a while for recovery. I had PRK surgery, which is kind of like LASIK. but things are still a bit blurry. So,
Well, good for you, that's great.
do we have 2 RBAs in the updated?
Yeah, TV towers, and we had an addition, part-time
Okay.
highway.
So the TV towers, Koochiching County has 5 TV towers located throughout the county, and actually one in St. Louis County. I think there's a map in the board packet. We've got one in Lowman, one in North Home, one in Big Falls, one in International Falls, and then one out by Captogama. These have been maintained by Voyager Communications, specifically Lee Hervey. Lee, at the age of 76, is going to retire. He's been involved in this since the 1960s, I believe he said, and exclusively since the early 1970s. So we're looking at putting an RFP, advertising that RFP, and then going through the process of awarding to a new contractor for the maintenance of these. Lee said that he would help out as much as he could over the transition. So we're looking at getting approval from the board for RFP approval, advertising, and awarding.
I can't help but tell a little story about this TV business, because when Chuck Lepper and I and that group started 30 years ago, we came up with, we wanted to save the county money, and we're looking at that TV system out there. Nobody's using it anyway, so just to check, we thought, let's just shut it down for a week and see if we get any responses. And we did it during deer season, and I'll never forget that. This place was just full of people down the hallway, all screaming at us. They wanted that TV. And so to that end, we got together with Lee, and he's been doing the services ever since, and he's upgraded it so that it's really quality service now. And it's not just here, obviously people in Canada and in Captogama are also receiving it. So I mean, it's worked out well.
Yeah, he's provided such a good service over the years. It's been very hands-off with anybody from the county. He's very responsible with his service, and it's amazing how many people use the over-the-air service. Especially since it's once digital and you get the additional channels.
Well, anyway, we told Lee, turn that back on and don't ever shut it off again.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he's kept it going all these years. Great job. So.
Question. Go ahead. Is there any work with the other counties that he's servicing right now, or is that a consideration for the RBA? Or
We'll be working with Lake of the Woods County and Roseau County, I believe, are the other 2 that he also services.
Okay.
It'll likely be a separate contract, of course. Some other contractor could get those areas, but we all kind of have the same needs, so we'll work together with the RFP.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Wishes of the board.
I'll move on that, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Second. Kevin and Jason. Any questions, comments? You're awful quiet today. Of course, you're doing the
important job.
Yes, you do. Go ahead, Kevin.
Lee has done a fantastic job on maintaining those towers, and I use it. I'm hooked up to it, and I got a tower that sits almost right out my picture window. So, but I mean it's worked well, and I know quite a few other people that use that service, and it's.
Yeah, I use it also, yeah. I'm trying to get somebody to come and help me set mine up a little better, but they never show up.
I think last year he said he was still climbing 350 feet up some of those towers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I think, as far as approving this, and I'm wondering if a letter or something from the board thanking him for his services over all these years. I mean, he's gone out there in the dead of winter and storms and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. So,
absolutely.
You okay with that as part of your...
Yep, part of the motion, yep.
All right. Any further comments or questions? I'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Make sure you tell him first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get that, Betsy? I think you got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Part-time highway.
Yeah, so this other RBA is for our position that we call our full-time, part-time. It's a laborer position that we utilize over the summer. In years past, I think it was up till about 2018, maybe, we always had two people in that role. We had Dan Adey and Vance Larson, and it might have been 2017 that Vance stepped away. Then Dan got moved into a heavy equipment operator position, so we had two positions available. We would advertise it, and it's really a tricky position to fill because it's usually from that May timeframe to October timeframe as a laborer, and it's just tough to get people that want to commit just their summer for work. We did find a person last year that filled one of the positions, and actually in that time he got a CDL. We offered him the position again this spring, and he said that he wasn't interested in it at the rate that we were paying. He said he could use a CDL elsewhere. So we're looking at advertising for those up to 2 permanent part-time highway laborer positions. Again, budgeted. It's just a matter of we can find somebody to fill them.
Willing to do it.
Yeah.
Silverdale comes to mind. Hard to keep someone there because Dan did it, but Dan was able to do it because he was very good with the heavy equipment, and we used them all over the county. So that worked. Other than that, it's hard.
Oh, we have a super guy down there right now,
Yeah.
Jeff Peterson. He's great. He's great.
We're working on fire down there too.
Yeah.
Fire department. Quite niche. I love Silverdale. All right.
And I guess the language that I also need to say here, this position will be filled at a step level based on the applicant's experience and knowledge.
Makes sense. All right. Any questions, comments from the board? Pretty quiet bunch.
Be a busy summer.
Yeah.
We have a very busy summer, specifically on the construction side with the overpass and the 2nd Avenue, 15th Street, that work. So, yeah, it's busy.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of highway. I'm looking at some of the people that are leaving state office here who've been kind of instrumental in helping us get things. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But
Yeah, I was ashamed to hear that Bach was not running for re-election.
He's got a cabin by me up in Canada, and just like Carol and I, he never gets there, so he's going to start using it.
Yeah.
All right, well, back to the issue. We'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do you have a motion on that?
Did we have a motion? I thought we did.
No motion.
All right.
I'll move.
We've got a motion by Kevin.
I'll second.
Second by that guy there that's
Kevin and Terry.
that's calling the shots. Good thing you got a voice that echoes. All right, anything else? We'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Is that my last one?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Trent.
Thank you.
Next time we see you, I know there will be perfect here. So. Oh, now we got someone we can pick. We've been waiting for you. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Where's my other sheet here?
Page 2.
I lost my second page. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, ES Director to enter into a staffing agreement.
Yes, the county receives AIS funding, AIS, Aquatic Invasive Species, funding from the state to implement management and prevention. We use some of these funds to operate inspection and decontamination program at boat launches throughout the county. Always There Staffing is the staffing agency that's provided inspectors in the past and provides those inspection services. The agreement with Always There would be for the 2022 season and includes a 14-day written notice termination clause, and it's an important part of our AIS inspection program. So I'm just looking for approval to enter into the agreement.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we've got a motion by Terry
Second, Mr. Chair.
Second by Kevin. Questions, comments? I mean, it's been a pretty successful.
Yeah, I mean, we need to do whatever we can to prevent the spread of AIS, and this is just part of it, so.
Remind me, didn't we are having issues in Black Bay? Is that recall?
Yeah, so the Park Service is, I'm struggling with the name now, but had found an invasive species in Black Bay, and so they're taking steps to implement AIS inspections at Kettle Falls because they're trying to prevent that from moving further upstream to other water bodies.
Zebra mussels?
Yeah, zebra mussels, thank you. Yep, so yeah, so the zebra mussels, and they found villagers, but actually haven't found the colony, so, but they need to try their best to prevent that spread, so that's what they're implementing right now. And I'm sure there'll be more communication coming from the park as they move forward with their inspection program. So.
I just bring that up because it's so important for the public that are using the waters to, what we're facing here, and it's coming here, so very critical. All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Terry and Kevin.
Thank you.
Director to enter a contract for AIS inspection.
So this is another AIS agreement. This one's with North St. Louis County SWCD. We've been in an agreement with them for the last couple of years to do inspections at the Ash River and Cavatogama sites. And just because we're closer, it made sense for us to do that. They pay for all costs, and this agreement would allow us to move forward with that. So.
Well, good partnerships, and just as a side note, with what we've been working on for years, including our wastewater systems on the lake, we're now working together in St. Louis and the other parts of Koochiching, but in particular Ash River and Cavatogama right now, and Crane Lake. So, and we're making a lot of headway, which is good, again, good for the waters.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I always explain to people here, why are you doing that? Well, because we're downhill from that watershed, so we need to keep that clean for our purposes too.
Yeah.
Been a great partnership. But anyway, back to this. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Again, I think we need a first and a second.
Do we have a first and second for that, Becky?
Not yet.
Well, we got to go back. Somebody. You guys are too quick today.
I'll make that motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Murray.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ady.
Terry and Kevin.
And we'll
Thank you very much.
call the question one more time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, resolution supporting increased SCORE funding. Yeah, we all like that.
Right, well, so SCORE funding is related to our recycling program. The Association of Minnesota Counties and the Solid Waste Administrators Association are supporting legislation that would redirect the 30% of the solid waste management tax that currently goes into the state general fund to SCORE grants, which we would use to help offset our costs related to our recycling programs. The county will receive SCORE funding in the amount of $72,440 in 2022. In 2021, our expenses for recycling programs, not including county staff wages, was over $180,000. Currently, there is legislation being considered which would, over time, redirect the 30% of the solid waste management tax that currently goes into the state general fund to SCORE grants. And I've spoken to Representative Eklund about the legislation, and he supports it. I think he's had that conversation with you also. If this legislation is passed, it will increase our SCORE funding significantly. Clay County has asked counties to pass resolutions similar to this in support of this increased SCORE funding, and they're asking all counties to do it. And I included a copy of the proposed resolution, and there's also a list of other counties that have already passed a resolution, and they're working on other counties too. So it's really important. It'll help us with funding basically our recycling program, and if we can get that redirected, which the intent of that solid waste management tax was to be used for solid waste and not dumped into the general revenue fund of the state. You know, it's a really important piece of legislation, and we hope it makes it through and gets approved.
If there's ever a year to have the opportunity, it's this year because of all the extra cash that are down there.
Right.
I hope we can get a
One comment that the Clay County Commissioner had made, and this was shared by their environmental service director, but he said that, yeah, the state would never think about throwing a gas tax into the general revenue. Why are they taking the solid waste management tax and throwing it into general revenue? He's really a big supporter of that, so that was his comment. So,
all right, wishes of the board.
I'll move on that, Mr. Chair.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Adie.
I'll second.
And a second by Commissioner Murray. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
and I want to thank Representative Eklund for supporting us in that. That's a big deal.
It's been very helpful.
Kevin and me and Terry.
Thank you.
All right, Minnesota Green Corps, post-site resolution.
Right, so...
Are we going green here?
We're always green. We are applying to host a Minnesota Green Corps member to help us with recycling and reuse programming within our county. This is a program coordinated through the MPCA, which places full-time members with host sites across the state to serve approximately 40 hours a week for 11 months from September 2022 through August 2023. The MPCA provides the Green Corps member to the county for the 11 months with the county contribution consisting of supervision of at least 4 hours per week, which we definitely would do, some training and professional development, vehicle expense for travel, office space, internet connection, phone, computer, and other office equipment as needed. The computer, phone connections, office equipment, vehicle expense, and other costs, not including the office space and supervision, is estimated to be $4,000 to $5,000 for the term of the service. I've attached a copy of the application, and I would support it. We would get some help with our recycling programming, which obviously is increasing right now because of the change in service at one of our local haulers, and so any way that we can improve and provide better service, I'm all for, and this may help us through that process.
Jason?
No, it was just kind of a funny story with Matt, talking with Matt about the previous motion for the AmeriCorps, which is kind of the same area here. He's looking at me like, how do you know that? And we kind of had a conversation. It was kind of funny. So we're fighting for office space. He's got rank though, so he got the office.
You have to move me out.
His room's pretty small on that one. All right, any other questions, comments from the board?
I would move to accept the
Thank you, Jason.
resolution.
Second.
And we've got a second by Terry. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And then approval,
Jason and Terry.
Thank you.
approval of a conditional use permit.
Yeah, so the last item that I have is a conditional use permit that was applied for by Rainy Lake Vacation Campground. It's a consideration of amending 2001 CUP, the conditional use permit. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on February 10th and again on March 10th, 2022 to hold a public hearing on the conditional use permit application submitted by Cole Hardman, Rainy Lake Vacation Campground LLC. The project site is north of Highway 11, east of Bowman's DNR boat landing. The applicants are requesting approval of a conditional use permit in order to expand the existing 30-unit RV campground. After receiving public comment, the Planning and Zoning Commission made the recommendation to approve the conditional use permit allowing the campground expansion for 17 additional RV sites as proposed. Rainy Lake Vacation Campground LLC's application included 17 seasonal campsites, but since the Planning and Zoning Commission last meeting have requested to decrease the number of sites to 14 and after further review and consideration. I believe it's 12 on the north and 2 more on the south of their property. There's a channel that runs through the property and kind of divides that and makes the natural division. And I included all the correspondence and all the summary of the meeting and all of that information. We have the applicant here, so they could also further describe the project. I do believe we do have other people that have public comment, and we have the county assessor here that might be useful in asking questions too. So at this time, maybe I could just have the applicants come up and you can just explain the project, and then you guys can direct wherever you want to go from there. Oh, one more thing I want to say. The conditional use permit may be granted, they need to, in order to grant conditional use permit, we need to answer 5 questions that are required. So the 5 questions are: will the proposed use conflict with the intent of the Koochiching County Shoreline Management Ordinance or other applicable rules? Will the proposed use cause any unreasonable adverse effects on adjacent properties? Will the proposed use substantially diminish property values within the surrounding areas? Will the proposed use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for use is predominant in the area? Is the location and character of the proposed development consistent with a desirable pattern of development? So as you're listening to all the information and as you reviewed everything, just keep in mind that those questions need to be answered and part of the thought process in whatever decision is made. And I did receive one other comment by email, and this person said they weren't able to attend, and I don't know who else is online, but I'll just provide this to the chair, and maybe if during public comment if you want to read it, that certainly could be something you could do. So I'll turn it over to the applicants, or if you want to just bring your chairs up, I can sit with you.
Mr. Chair, excuse me.
Go ahead.
This is Betsy. Could we have anybody who comes up to share public comment, first of all, introduce themselves so I can get their name down for record?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cole and Carrie Rubin.
She's the boss, right?
Absolutely.
No.
I've got one right here, too. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for giving me time to talk. Today we sit here before as eager business owners. We invested in this community and built a campground in an area that desperately needed one. We have received many compliments on the campground in the few years that we have been open, and we strive to continue to make it better. We have faced hardship with our business like many others have in the area. We are surviving a pandemic that closed us down for an entire month and caused many cancellations and return deposits during what was supposed to be our first full summer operating. Many businesses see the importance of having our campground here. We have 20 businesses that sponsored fire rings at our campground. It was hard to see a couple of our fire ring sponsors go out of business due to the pandemic. We send our customers to many businesses in the area: local restaurants, resorts, bars, clothing and gift shops, laundromats, convenience stores, gas stations, spas, fishing and tour guides, repair shops, etc. People that stay with us invest in this community. We want to bring more people to this community so we can help it thrive. This small town is where we chose to raise our family, and we will do so with pride. We feel so much positive has came from the RV park on Rainy Lake. It has been a wonderful experience, and we're absolutely astonished by the number of local taxpayers that come and enjoy our campground as well. I would love to see the business expansion happen in a way that would benefit Rainy Lake. In 2017, before we purchased the property, we spent months verifying that we could develop the north parcel in addition with the south parcel. We completed the development on the south property in 2019. That fall, I reached out to 2 of our immediate neighbors looking to see if I could purchase their land or an easement to move the road to create a better access into my property. This was denied. But understanding that having traffic down 275 is not ideal, that was the reason I was trying to reroute the road. I spent many months after that trying to get DNR approval to build a road on my land to connect my north and south property. This was deemed unallowable due to ordinary high water levels. Now the plan is still to continue researching this avenue. It'd be beneficial for us, it'd be beneficial for our neighbors to have the road go through there on our property. We are currently approved for 3 cabins and a commercial storage workshop combination building, and we have a 40-foot road easement right-of-way that is approved for this commercial use property. We have received 20 signatures of support from local neighbors within the quarter-mile radius, as well as a local business owner. Of the objections to the campground expansion, 70% of the property owners bought after the conditional use permit was granted in 2001. Currently, what I'm approved for is my dream. But to hook up to city sewer and the dramatic increase of costs associated with that task, I am forced to either sell to a developer or create more annual income to help pay for the sewer connection, as our extension we were granted in 2017 is coming due. We are here today trying to get a conditional use permit for 14 more sites, with no more than 12 being on the north parcel as a courtesy. We have reduced our ask from the original 17 after hearing our neighbors' concerns and trying to lessen traffic a bit. Traffic on UT 275 will increase one way or another, and we're trying to be a part of the solution. We hope that we can work with our county commissioner and local landowners to have UT 275 repaired or redone. Having seasonal RVs will reduce the traffic of campers using the road. Our seasonal customers signed a strict policy stating that the RV be 2012 or newer or have management approval. Our goal with this rule is so that they always remain looking nice and not become an eyesore. This concludes that it's our responsibility to maintain and operate our park just as we have done in the past. We do understand that the land has been vacant for years, and coming to terms with it being developed one way or another may be unsettling. We are happy to answer any questions about our expansion, and also keep in mind that we have camp hosts and ourselves overseeing the campground activities daily. We will do our part to continue to keep our park quiet and clean. We will also investigate any noise complaints or disrespectful driving concerns and handle them as quickly as possible. We'd like to thank you for our time.
Anything else? Any questions from the board? All right, if not, we'll open it up for public comment. Is anyone here for that?
I'd like to make a request. Dr. Laura Stoiber and her sister, who is an environmental engineer, were texting me close to midnight last night, still very concerned, and they told me that they had submitted a letter detailing all of their road problems and concerns and petitioning the board to deny approval of this, and they had submitted that to Mr. Gowan and Ms. Zarin and requested that it be read at the meeting because they could not be present. So I would like the board to be able to read that before other comments are put in, because the letter they spent a lot of time on it, and it really details out all of the neighboring property owners' concerns. Could that be done, please?
Terry, you're a good reader. Here you go.
I can do good in English. I can read.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
This letter is dated March 21st, 2022. Starts out with, Dear County Commissioners, I am writing this letter following the March 10th public hearing held by the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the application submitted by Cole Harbin and Rainy Lake Vacation Campground LLC in order to expand the existing RV campground by adding an additional 17 seasonal RV campsites. Please let this letter serve as a public comment as I am unable to attend the March 22nd Koochiching County Board of Commissioners meeting. I understand the need to support small businesses and the value that they bring to the community. However, the existing infrastructure is not adequate to support the proposed expansion of the RV campground. Additionally, there are too many impacts, known and unknown, to the adjacent properties. This second conditional use permit application should not be granted since there is no clear solutions proposed at the March 10th meeting for improvements needed to the county, to the road to the access of the business. The existing utility road 275 is a one-lane road, not suitable for commercial use, as slated at the March 10th meeting, and cannot support the proposed activity and traffic. This makes the expansion of the RV park unsustainable. The strategy of meeting and guiding each RV as they enter and exit was thoughtful and well-meaning, but not a viable long-term solution for safety and does not account for extra car traffic. As was stated by many property owners on the March 10th meeting, property values in the vicinity of this property will absolutely be adversely affected, especially if the existing roadway and safety are compromised. Therefore, the second conditional use permit application does not meet the county's 5 criteria for approval. At the very least, no decision should be made until a land survey is conducted and a viable plan for the road is proposed that all stakeholders can review. Currently, there are too many unanswered questions to support the approval of the second conditional use permit. Sincerely, Dr. Laurel Stoiber, property owner.
Hang on, that one up. All right. Okay, any others? Please,
Yes, I'd like
Mr.
to
Yule.
speak. I didn't know this was.
You gotta give your name for the,
Oh, she's talking a sec, Barbara.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Hi, this is a contiguous neighbor directly across the bay, Barbara and Daryl Nelson. And first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. And it's been a really frustrating 2 months. And, you know, I really want you to know this is nothing personal against the Ravens. We all supported their part initially. And however, this expansion is completely unacceptable to all, and I hope you can bear with me. I would like to detail out some of our concerns. Over the course of the last 2 months, most of the neighbors expressed their opposition and have felt completely disregarded. I did send an email to all of the county commissioners that I had submitted to the chairman of the board of the planning commission, and I detailed out a lot of concerns in that. I don't want to repeat that. I'm sure you've all read it. But the closest elderly neighbor, Mrs. Wright, was actually ejected from that meeting when she spoke up and contradicted the applicant. It was all very, very disturbing. That meeting ended with no one wanting to approve this, and then it just sort of like another month went away, and we are unable to attend the meeting too, and it's been very disturbing because for weeks on end we have received nonstop letters, emails, phone calls from all of the contiguous neighbors and our friends, and one by one, you know, they would just say they're not listening to us, this thing is going to go through, there's people, you know, it's like, you know, another said this is just all about the money, that's all they care about. Well, and this went on and on. It's starting to feel like David and Goliath, and some of the elderly people, we're too discouraged to continue. And like I said, I'm starting to feel like it is David against Goliath. Because business is put forward, but what I'd like to say is that all of us agree that business is important to the city and county. But from our understanding, that RV park has been extremely successful, and we all supported it and wanted access to the lake. But there are other things more worth fighting for than money, and this is one of these things. This latest expansion, the original plan that that no one had a problem with was a home, a single-family home, and a few cabins. That was the original proposal, which at one point was suggested was grandfathered in. Well, that could not be grandfathered in because 17 giant RVs, now reduced to 14, is not the same environmentally, and it will impact all of us. And so the expansion on the North Bay of 14 large RVs is just completely unacceptable, as well as the road situation. And again, no one had a problem with the original plan, but when we all started to meet and talk, and everybody was just like, this cannot possibly work. And I believe Dr. Stoiber and her sister, the environmental engineer, have laid that part out close, effectively. But there's another thing too. It's the zoning ordinance stipulates that a conditional use permit can only be granted if the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the environment in the immediate neighborhood, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the surrounding neighborhood. There are also 4 more conditions, none of which have been met. This will completely diminish our enjoyment. There have been 4 hours worth of people's comments at this meeting, begging, pleading to be listened to, that none of us support this. And there may be a petition. We also got a call saying we have a petition that they're having people sign as they leave a liquor store and neighborhood grocery store. And yes, they will improve and help local businesses, but this has nothing to do. This is not, the people that actually live in that bay, we've worked very hard our whole lives to live and enjoy that property. And I ask all of you, if you read that condition and follow the county zoning ordinance, this simply cannot be approved. And I ask you all to put yourself in our situation. The comment that was most offensive made to all of us at the last meeting was, well, nobody wants a cell tower in their backyard, but you'll get used to it. And that's the same as this. Well, I ask all of you, if you have a beautiful piece of property that you've worked for your whole life, how would you like to have 14 giant RVs placed next door to you, 14 new docks in a tiny little bay where we all kayak, the children swim, the boat traffic is already extremely heavy due to Bowman's Landing, on top of which the RV park, which we all supported. But yet simply, this last proposal is not acceptable, and it's not a huge economic boom to the county. Half of those trailers are from townspeople. It just simply doesn't work anyway. The road situation doesn't work. And the elderly landowner most affected, Mr. and Mrs. Wright next door, were in tears at the meeting. And she said, we grew up here, we've lived here for 50 years. We have raised our children here. And she said, you're bringing these trailers within 4 feet of my bedroom window. You're destroying our property value. You're destroying our lifestyle. How this thing ever was passed, like, on to you with the recommendation for approval shocked all of us. I mean, that's a true indication that, I mean, please listen to us, and I can get you, we will be home in 2 weeks. I can get you a signed petition from every contiguous property owner against this, if that's what you need in writing. I've been asked to attend this meeting by WebEx. I've had letters. Dr. Stoiber asked me to attend this and pass on our views. And I'm really sorry to take up so much time, and I didn't mean to be emotional here, but this is very close to our heart. And if you actually could please take into consideration all of these things, I do not see how any of you could actually pass this permit. I mean,
All right.
again, I thank you all for your time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of myself, my family, and our neighbors.
Okay, well, thank you for participating. All right, back to you, Mr. Ewald.
I'm Robert Ewald. I have property on Morrison Point, so I go by there pretty regular. The development, I'm assuming, is on the north side of the Bowman Waterway in the canal there, so it's not on the main lake.
Well, but at the very end, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
The best part of our property is on the point.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I guess from my point of view, I drive by there a lot. I'm up the cabin and back and forth. And I had no issues with the campground or the traffic. And I assume you're going on the back road to get in there, or they're trying to go on the back road. Most RVers, of which I'm one, when you go someplace, you camp for a week or 2 or a month. You don't go in and out every day. So the traffic is going to increase some, yes, but how much, that's really questionable. And they've done a good job out there. The place looks nice. There's no parties or noise or traffic going in and out, people racing around. So it's a canal too. It's not a lake shore frontage, in my opinion. So maybe if they skipped the very end campground or something, maybe that would appease people a little more. I understand their points. I don't know how much of this they've actually studied, or it's an opinion just like mine, I think. I really don't know for sure. But anyway, I'm in support of it. So.
Thank you. All right. Please.
Do I get to stand at the back, or do I get a seat so I can look at the commissioners when I talk to them?
We can move out of the way.
Thank you, Matt.
Ma'am, maybe, could you find another chair for Steve?
You don't want me to roll around in here?
You sure? Okay.
Don't watch that chair.
Okay, my name is Georgianne Wright.
Welcome.
And my husband and I own the property immediately adjacent to the proposed expansion of the campground, okay? Now, first of all, I want to say, and it's been, Barb Nelson said a lot of this too, this is not about whether these two people are good people. This is not about whether their campground is well-run or well-attended. We all agree to that. It's not even about whether Koochiching County and International Falls need more economic development. That's a given. I've lived here all my life, and I know that. I've worked here, I retired from here, I know that, okay? This is about the 4 conditions, and I was upended by that with Matt and with Barb Nelson. I did not hear those conditions talked about at either zoning meeting, okay? They were brought up by the people that live around, okay? They were not discussed at all. I'm not going to go over them again. I was going to read the first one, but Matt's already done that, so I won't do that. I would also like to remind you that at the first zoning meeting, there were so many concerns, so many objections, that a motion couldn't even be brought forward, okay? And then lo and behold, a month later, we got a permit granted. Not unanimously, but it was granted, okay? Our county commissioner, Mr. Pavlik, was good enough to come to our home so he could have a visual of what's going to be right next door to us, okay? There is no buffer zone. There's no lovely row of pine trees so you can't see what's next door. There's nothing. And when the 17 campsites were going to be there, the road to get there was going to run right 14 feet from my bedroom and living room window, okay? Now they've reduced it to 12 or whatever, 14, whatever. Okay, and that's just lovely. However, because this is a conditional use permit, we would like to add one more condition, okay? We would like the people that want the permit to build a 6-foot privacy fence between us and them, and I don't think that's too much to offer. Like Barb Nelson said, we've lived on that bay longer than these people have been alive. I don't like or dislike them. I don't know them, okay? They didn't talk to us about this. They made no offer to buy our property, nothing, okay? And that's the pure truth. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Oh, Mr. Hilke, please.
Oh, I'm Bob Hilke.
Bob, you can sit in that chair
Yeah,
too.
be
there.
careful, Bob, that rolls.
Okay.
My former teacher, no less.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Didn't do a very good job with those two.
And I have to begin by telling you that I admire what this couple has done with their property. I've been over there a number of times going through it and observed it in many ways, and they do a superb job. It doesn't mean that I'm in favor of a whole string of campers on that other shore. I think that really destroys a good part of the value of the property around it, and especially the people that have put a lot of hard work and a lot of money into their lake homes. So all of a sudden in their backyard have something like a trailer court. Now trailer courts aren't that bad, especially when you have them like they have over in the other channel. And it's just beautiful. And I admire it, and I just think it's great. But I think to put a whole string of them, like I've heard suggested, on that far shore, I think would be a mistake. I really do. And I think it would depreciate the property value of the people that have homes on that lake. And no matter what, I think it'll affect traffic even. Now, this morning I thought of the things that go on over there in that little area. Just some of them. First of all, there are several barge companies that come in regularly and load vehicles. They load equipment of all different sorts, tractors and dozers and all kinds of stuff, and gravel and all that stuff on their barges, and they're in and out. And they take up time, and they take up quite a lot of space when they're there. I can't see very well either. I've got a problem here. There are going to be people coming in now pretty soon for customs. That's busy. That boat's coming in and out for that, and there's limited dock space. They come in and they want to get to that little house and make their phone call, and they have to sit out there and circle around until there's an opening to get in to do that. And you get a lot of congestion there as it is, really a lot at certain times. And I think that's an important service that's provided, and something that I've come in late sometimes and it's so crowded I can't even get in. I live across the bay, but I still got to check in there too. And I've got a 28-foot Chris Craft. Imagine trying to get that in there when there's a crowd. It's not fun. Also, there are lots of boats, including pontoon boats, that are popular as can be. And I just think they're wonderful. I see them coming and going, and they become very seaworthy even. I'm surprised at what they can do. But pontoon boats are about 10 feet wide nowadays. You get a couple of those in there, and all of a sudden everything's plugged up. And they're sitting there waiting for their turn to either get in the water or out of the water. You know, that's a very congested area. Now we've got paddle boards. They come out of there with their paddle boards, and I've seen, and my neighbors have seen even worse than I have. They'll come out there, and there'll be a boat coming in full blast. They don't slow up until they get right there where they're almost at the ramp. And in the meantime, they put up a big wake, and these people on paddle boards, some of them are not that experienced even. And one of these days, something really bad's going to happen there. It's just obvious. It's not good. Sometimes the boys' camp boat comes in. They load up their kids for the camp. Usually that's the place they come to because it's easy for them to load and unload there. And I don't know what their schedule is this summer, but last summer I don't think they got in there. The water was low, and then I don't even know what they did at the camp. But normally that's where they would go. And they're important people on the lake. They do a lot for the lake and for the economy here too. Now we got canoes coming out in and out as well. Jet skis. My gosh, the jet skis are coming, and they are some of the worst because they don't make a big wake, but they make one that really is fast. And they come in, pet through those channel markers, and they don't slow up until they're right there either. Something has got to be done to control that. Now, it's not the fault of the camp, as far as I know, of the trailer camp. I think they do a good job of telling their people now, be sure you observe the safety rules, coming in slow. I don't know, because I think most of their boats, when I watch them, they seem to have slowed up early enough before they get around to the next thing. And I appreciate that. Not only those things, but there are people that pick up their passengers there. I think there are some guides even now that are using that. They pull in there and they pick out their people for the day and go out and come back. We're getting more traffic than I'd ever imagine would ever happen there at that place. So I'm very concerned about it. And of course, there's always somebody trying to launch a boat at the same time somebody wants to have theirs pulled out, which makes a big mess there. Well, let's see. Well, now the kayaks as well. The kayaks are a big thing now too. A lot of kayaks come in and out there. But the thing that I wanted just to alert you to is that place is very, very busy in the summer, especially in the morning and in the evening. And if all of a sudden there's some bad clouds show up, oh my gosh, the boats come pouring in there. They're afraid to get wet. I don't blame them, but you're on a pontoon boat, you might not have a cover on yours. And while they race in there, and then they're sitting out there out in the bay trying to wait their turn to get in. And it gets to be really a jam. So I don't know about putting another 14 or 15 or 17 units along that shoreline. They're going to want docks, and they're going to have, I see, some accommodation with that up in the channel. They'll have boats at those. That's more boats. I think the place is just getting overrun. That's my opinion. But I don't want you to think that these two people here aren't doing a wonderful job with their campground. I really respect them and what they're doing. And I think that's enough for me.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Bob.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if Ryan Reed, are you online? No. He was going to call in maybe if he could. He had some other meetings, but he's from the DNR. In any case...
can you hear me? This is Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Thank you. So Ryan reads from the DNR, and maybe, Ryan, you could address the board about what's allowed for docking and some of the water-related issues, I guess.
Well, for docking, they'd be allowed 1 slip per unit. So if they had whatever number of sites there, if there's 12 sites, typically what they do is have 6 docks and a mooring spot on each side of the dock. So that's all we would really regulate. Any of the surface use stuff is really regulated by the county, like the sheriff's office. So they would deal with that. Because I just heard there's possibly some issues with boat traffic and other concerns with safety. So
thanks.
Sheriff's office. So I don't know what other questions you had about water use or anything, but that's all we would have oversight on really is the number of slips.
Well, thank you, Ryan. You sound a lot nicer than Matt said you were.
Yeah, you gotta be that way once in a while.
I'm just teasing you. Other comment, please. Here you go.
I'm Andrew Wright, and I own the property right next door to right north of the campground.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, I got a little confused right now. We talking 14 units there or 12? What's going on?
12.
So what 2 are missing?
We reduced our ask from 17 down to 14, with 2 being on the other side.
So 12 on the north and
2 more
2
on
on the
the
south.
So which ones on the north are gone now?
We would spread them out more.
Pardon?
Right?
Well, I guess we haven't really thought about that. It's a good question.
Okay, I want to start. I got a few notes here that I put down and we'll come to that later. This campground at 14 RVs, the first time that we heard of any 14 RVs going on the north side that are next to us was when we got the notice on January 27th. That's the first time that we were notified of that. And then the other thing that came out in that first meeting was that he had talked to us about what he was going to do. He asked us one time if we were willing, if we wanted to sell some property. And after we discussed it, we said no. There was no offer made or nothing. Absolutely nothing. That area north of the campground where we are on 275, that's residential. It's been residential ever since we've been living there. The road is not designed for heavy traffic. It's just gravel over the Muskeg and a little blacktop on top of it. And the road coming in that runs north and south in front of our property, the first 170 feet, that's probably even worse. By the time he gets done doing any construction, both of those roads, that whole road is probably going to be destroyed. It's already been damaged just from the rock that's been hauled in there. Get on that road, if I'm going out and someone's coming in, half of our cars are off the road. It's not wide enough even for 2 vehicles to pass and stay on the road.
When they're meeting each other, you're good?
That's right. Both of us have got to get half off.
Just let me, I can give you a good example of
the
that.
other day, Friday, I guess it was, she came home and they were cutting the trees or trimming the trees along the
Power lines.
car had to stay out on 133 until they got done. Couldn't get by. Either that, even 135, 133 from 94 to 275, that road is just as bad as 275. Really bad. There's no buffer. They haven't shown any buffer on the north side. There's no buffer line or anything on the west side. There's a buffer on the east, there's one on the south, and of course the DNR, there's a buffer in there, but nothing on the north, nothing on the west. I guess I mentioned that the road that he's putting in is going to be about 14 feet from our house. If the start of the road, I'm assuming that would be the bottom slope, because there's a lot of fill that's got to come in to bring that up to the berm that's there now. Another thing that wasn't is drainage. All that water out there, that's low. I don't know where the water's going to go. When I read that zoning thing, his road's got to be, and where the campers are, that's got to be hard, got to be drained. Where's it going to go? Is it going to come in my place, or it's going to go to the lake? And then there's been a lot of talk on section 512. The 1, 2, 3, and 4. None of those were mentioned in one of the meetings, zoning meetings, but none of the people on that board addressed them. They never answered any questions concerning it. And I think there should be an answer to every one of those. And one of them is they're talking about decreasing values. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but when I got my tax statement this year, my valuation from the assessor is close to 6% lower from last year. So I don't know that's wrong. Why?
I can address that real quick if you want.
Well, I don't. I'm just saying it's down.
If you didn't know why, I can answer that.
But I mean, it went down for some reason or other. That road and the access to that campground, the way it is right now, it's going to cost the county money. A lot of money.
Mine went up, so I want to talk to you too.
It's not my I'm not talking taxes. I'm talking valuation.
Valuation, yeah.
That's what I do.
Was there a reason or an issue?
Oh, yeah.
Could you tell us? I'm sure.
2 years ago, we went up on the lake. And when we go up just for that year. And last year, we didn't need that much, so the values went down to what they were before. So
everybody's
just had to do with the sales for that year. That's all they had to do. Had nothing to do with property being devalued. It's just that last year the sales didn't go anywhere. Okay, this year a whole different story.
So it would have been a couple of years
a whole
ago
different
that
story.
happened. You're a year behind though.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying you're behind, but you're.
No, I'll address the values a little bit later too.
So I understand what I mean. Okay. So that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. For the board, if there's any questions for anyone, you feel free to. So. Is there anyone else here to address?
I would like to make an additional comment. Many of us, I'm sorry, this is Barbara Nelson again. Many of us submitted letters the first two meetings too, and Mr. Hilke really summed up and detailed out perfectly all of the concerns we had. And Dr. Stoiber and I were extremely concerned and voiced our opinions and wrote letters about the safety too. But, you know, we don't want to, it was difficult. Like, we didn't know if we should resubmit everything again. And so then different letters were written. But those issues were brought up initially and completely disregarded as not the planning commission's concerns. They're not in charge of traffic. They're not in charge of safety. But you are. And the thing is, eventually, when it comes to the county commission, and what we tried to explain to the planning commission is, I am a kayaker, and that bay it's a bay, and it's used a lot, as Mr. Hilke said, especially with the landing there. And that was not brought up either in this initial presentation by the Rayback. We asked them about the docks. They said, well, there will be 16 or 17 docks, I can't even comprehend how they can get that many docks in. Plus the fact that nobody's talking about, again, either, is the 17 trailers. Then they're gonna have cars to run to the store and restaurants. And all these things are great for the community, but they're not great on that North Bay. It's just a travesty. It's like taking, it's absolutely unbelievable. And the safety issues there, we raised and said, if this is approved, the first person that gets run down in that bay, and it will happen, it's just a matter of time, not when, you add 17 more boats, 17 more docks, all this traffic that's already there, it's going to be too late. Hindsight is not going to save a life after, and that bay is simply too little and too busy and too crowded to sustain all this additional dock and traffic. I mean, I don't even know how they can do it. Not to mention swimmers. It, like the whole, nothing in this proposal makes any sense at all. And I hope people are listening to this part, because this part is really important. When a kayaker or a swimmer or a small craft gets run over, it will be too late. And then this will be brought up, but it won't matter by then. And as far as the devaluation and assessors right now, that has no credence nor relevance here now. If those 17 giant RVs are brought in, or make it 12, it really doesn't matter, you're splitting hairs. There's still a dozen giant RVs on a small strip of property with another dozen docks. The property values will decrease significantly, and we do all pay a lot in taxes, and we do pay a lot to maintain our property. This will absolutely destroy our property value, which is the biggest and first stipulation in considering a conditional use permit, that it does not destroy the enjoyment. Well, I'm no longer even swimming around there now because of the traffic. It's like slowly, bit by bit, let's erode this. For what? For a few businesses? They're still going to have a very successful business, and maybe they will have to wait to build a home or a couple cabins. Well, we had to wait our whole lives and work our whole lives to support ourselves and to enjoy our lives now on this little bay. So you don't get everything all at once. And we do support the family. We don't support this North Bay expansion. And the more I hear from the more people that speak up, everybody is being very honest and eloquent. And if you listen with an open heart and not just, it's business as usual, it's money, this permit cannot be granted. I mean, I don't know what will happen to all of us and how this will go forward from here, but that's, again, for your consideration, and appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Barb. Matt, you got something?
Just, Barb, I just wanted to let you know that all the correspondence and all of the information was in the board packet. I do believe I did email that all to you, so all of that correspondence was provided to the board. I just wanted you to be clear.
Actually, yes, I would like to thank Matt personally. He has done everything, granted every request, and I do appreciate you did send all that. Again, we are not at home, and I could simply not wade through 240 pages on my little phone, and so I never did get to the point where I could see what was inclusive. But I really do believe you have been extremely helpful in this whole process. So I thank you again, and for everything.
Commissioner Adie, and then we'll back to the audience.
I've got a couple of questions. First of all, does everyone that show up with a camper also show up with a boat?
No.
Okay. Next of all, concerning the rates, I think I read in a couple of emails that one of their sites would be 4 feet from your bedroom window?
The property line between us and them is 10 feet from the side of our house. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, they need to stay 4 feet beyond the property line. So that would put them 14 feet. The road that they propose to put in to reach these additional sites would run 14 feet from the side of our house and our property line.
Okay, because like I say, I thought I read in a couple of emails, I don't remember if they were from you or from someone else, and I think someone else is misstating that to 4 feet, and that's what Barbara is saying, it's 4 feet from your bedroom window.
The side of our house is 10 feet to the property line.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that they would need to stay 4 feet on the other side. Is that not correct?
Cole, how far is your road from the property line as developed? What was the?
It's 1 foot away.
1 foot away, but that's you talk about ditches, a ditch, and then a road bed, and then the campsite. So it'd be the road, ditch. But it's correct. I mean, the development is going to be right up against, right next to the property line. There's no question about that. Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
There's no buffer.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And the rights develop, I mean, your property is developed right to the property line also, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, it's...
Yard.
Their yard, that's correct, yep.
I got a question though. I'm still a little confused on how many conditional use permits says 14 campsites. How many campsites are there?
14.
So you're going to do 12 campsites, right?
12 on the new parcel.
No, they're going to do 14 two on the other side.
2 on the south property.
That's not what's in the...
So they sent a request to decrease the request from the original 17 to 14 after they've, further consideration. And so now their request is for an expansion of 14 total, 2 on the south side of the canal and 12 on the north side of the canal, which would be 2 less than what they originally proposed on the north side.
But they could still be...
So which 2?
Then that's a question they'd have to ask, I'm not sure.
Which 2 are going?
We really never thought about it. I mean, that up front shoreline, right, that was why all of the neighbors had bought that property. They love it. In 2017, I did my due diligence and I verified that before I spend money on property, commercial land, 32.75 acres, 2,200 feet of shoreline. The property I'm trying to develop is 200 feet wide by 1,000 feet of usable property, right? There is land there, so I don't want to say it's too small. But I want to be able to use that face of the property just as much as everyone in the area. I would be willing to move it back some, but I don't want to be losing my
first 2 sites that are the prime real estate.
I could meet in the middle, and I've already gotten rid of 2. I can.
That's still right outside our door.
Yes.
Not even.
As far as foliage, we're willing to plant trees. Like, that is not an issue for us.
Okay.
But like Cole said, you have to tear it down and level it and do the work before you can put the trees up.
You have to establish drainage.
If you plant the trees and then destroy the ground, they're going to die. It's not going to do any good.
Mr. Chairperson,
Please.
Planted trees, we're 80 years old. Planted trees will not provide a buffer for us. We hope we'll stay there as long as we can, okay? And we're in good shape. We're going to be there a while yet. Planted trees are not going to provide any kind of a buffer for us between them and 14 campsites.
I can see who's the boss too, so just like mine.
You did say you'd be okay with a 6-foot fence?
I would, if you people, excuse me, if you commissioners see fit to grant these people their conditional use permit I think the very least that these people can do is build us a privacy fence. And I would ask that that come the whole length of the proposed advancement of their property, from the lake right on back.
All right.
I'm sorry, I keep
Right.
talking. My husband and I we talk about this, and I just talk louder.
We're going to let the citizens, and unless you got, who's talking in the, oh, okay.
I'm sorry, but providing a privacy fence on your property, Mrs. Wright, will still not mitigate any of all of the other concerns and will not help at all as far as the safety, the environmental issues, the road issues, the privacy, the buffer. We're all going to see it on the other side of the bay. We're all going to experience the traffic, the dogs. I would like, I mean, at the very least, they should have proposed that in the original plan, but it will not mitigate any of these other concerns that all of us surrounding property owners have. And frankly, whether it's 12 giant RVs or 14, that's splitting hairs. We're all going to see them. We're going to experience the adverse effects of all the traffic, the devaluation in property, the safety issues, and God knows, I don't know how you poor neighbors are going to put up with the road issues on that side. You always had our sympathy with regard to that. It's like completely untenable. The fact that it was even considered is beyond the pale for all of us that when we discussed it, which is why these meetings that were allotted 12 minutes, the first one, went on for 2.5 hours before they finally broke up. Then the following meeting went on and on. I mean, a privacy fence, yes, at the very least, you should be afforded that. We should be afforded that period, but it doesn't mitigate or in any way help with all the other issues that have been raised here, particularly the safety, the traffic, the noise. And I know one thing too, the fire chief isn't here, but he spoke up at the first meeting too. When you got one-way traffic, what is going to happen when an EMT, an emergency vehicle, has to get there? You got somebody out on the road directing an RV in. We're also concerned about fire issues, safety issues. It just doesn't end. It's like one thing brings up another, brings up another, brings up another. This proposal never should have been considered beyond the permit for a condition for a single-family home and possibly 2 or 3 rental cabins as they can be afforded and as they can be built. But you simply have a pyramid here of issues. And seriously, some days, when the accident happens, when the fire happens, when the boat safety issue is raised, when somebody gets seriously hurt, I really hope that people, that you don't disregard these things because of a small business expansion. The RV park is already successful. It does meet a need. This expansion will hurt all of us, will create incredible safety hazards, traffic hazards, property value evaluation. It doesn't meet any of the criteria for passing a conditional use permit, which is what a zoning ordinance is for. So when none of those conditions are met, it simply cannot be approved based on helping a few local businesses and the park is successful, as I said. And also, I don't know an RV, I really have never seen an RV that doesn't carry a boat trailer with it. So when it was said that, well, there won't be boat trailers, I would say there's probably 90% of all RV travelers are gonna wanna be on the lake. Why are they there? They're there to fish and enjoy the lake, just like we all are. Whether it's boating, so there will be trailers, there will be giant RVs, there's gonna be boat trailers, and then there's gonna be another 17 cars in that parking lot coming and going, because you're not gonna move your big RV. So it just keeps expanding all of the situation. It's completely unworkable. Maybe years down the road, well, we already had the DNR and the city, or I believe it was city or county engineer say they will not build nor will they fix that road. They said they've asked, they're not doing it. You can take it before the state legislature, which is what was explained in detail and at length at the last meeting. And then I believe Ms. Kowalski asked about that, like, well, how could we get this done? Because that would be a solution. But they said it's not going to happen unless you go to the state legislature through your congressman, which will take years and years.
Okay. I've got to get to some other people here too, Barb.
Yeah, this is Ms. Kowalski.
Yeah, thank you, Barb.
Say a few words.
This is somebody else.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Kowalski, and I have a property 2 doors down from the right. And the UT 275 road runs east and west, basically on the right-of-way of my property. And I have a lot of mixed emotions about this whole thing. I'm my father's daughter, and I'd love to see businesses coming into International Falls. Even though I don't live there permanently, I do spend a lot of time up there. And, we're an older community. I think my graduating class in 1982 was 230 students. And I'm guessing it's less than 100 now. So, I do, what I can to promote International Falls. And as a matter of fact, I've even promoted the RV part on social media as well. And like others, I think, this first phase has been great. I haven't, from my opinion, I haven't really experienced any impact. And granted, I'm not there full time. So, congratulations to the Rubbins for doing a great job. And I've even, kayaked back there, visited a relative that rented from them for a month. And gosh, one time it was about 5 o'clock and I was there for happy hour. Nobody was there, so it was very quiet. And so, again, done a very good job. And I would like to see some sort of compromise and see how we can, be successful at this. Having said that, I do want to talk about this road, since that's my major concern. And like others have said, it's a 1-lane road. I haven't measured it. It's either 10 or 12 feet across. And when you do meet a car, there's one car or both cars that end up with one tire in the ditch. So that's not going to improve. That's going to continue on. And then, secondly, the concern I would have is, and I'm going to read this, it's right off the Koochiching County Highway Department website. It says, our goal is to provide a high level of cost-effective service and maintenance to the Koochiching County roadways and bridges, ensuring that all residents, visitors, and businesses have access to a safe and functional transportation system. And my guess is that I think Dave Reimer, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, he even said, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was either opposed or concerned about the road at both of the zoning meetings. And so I'd like to hear a lot more from him. It seemed like he got muted quite a bit. And then also the fire chief, I think both in his professional capacity as the fire chief, and then I think he lives across the bay as well as a citizen. I think he was, again, not to put words in his mouth, he was either opposed or concerned. And I think that you as the board should actually dive into some of those details. And again, I think that there's been a lot of good work done so far. I was surprised to hear starting out that there's been a reduction by, what was it, 4? I'm not sure why the 4 campsites wouldn't have been the 1 through 4 that's proposed on one of the maps. Why would it be 2 and 2? Because then if you reduce the 4, that helps the rights out a little bit. And, from a privacy standpoint. But the other thing that I brought up at the last zoning and planning and zoning commission meeting is, in talking with Cole, and I think Ryan Reed spoke a little bit as well, it sounds like that ordinary high water line is inches away from being too low, not feet. And I don't know what that number is. And maybe it's even a fraction of an inch. I don't know. But my question would be, does an inch really make a big deal, make a big impact for this ordinary high water line? And, I think at the meeting someone suggested that, the only way to return that was through the state. And so my question would be, has anyone contacted the state?
Yeah, Mary, this is Ryan Reed, hydrologist with DNR. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Good, because I'm talking through my phone now, but yeah, that area, what I've seen on that eastern edge of the channel is one survey that was done, I believe by Murphy, but I'm not sure. And it shows the ordinary high water level wrapping around, even past where you would call open water. And for state public water rule jurisdiction, when those rules kick in, it's when we are within that ordinary high water level. So much of that area where you've already got a path through there, that is in or within the ordinary high water levels with the information that we have. Now, if a survey was done and said that's not within the ordinary high water level, because I believe the original survey may have been done by a drone, but I'm not positive, but I'm just going off the best data that we have. But just to say that, okay, somebody redoes, Cole has a survey redone, and that area is above the ordinary high water level. So that would, being a wetland area, that would fall under the jurisdiction of the Soil and Water District in Cooch County because they administer the Wetland Conservation Act. So that would be their rules that would regulate whether a roadway could be placed there. But the way it is now, all that's allowed is like a dock, 8 feet wide, over ordinary high water. Any kind of fill is actually prohibited in our rules for roadway or pathway. And also a bridge would be prohibited if there's another means to access. And there is another means to access from the north. So that's where we are. Hopefully that explains why we're where we're at right now for DNR jurisdiction wise, I guess. So.
Mr. Chair. All right, thank you. Pat, please.
Ryan, I had to step out for a moment there, and I missed a little bit of your presentation. But so this is in regard to, and I think Mary Pulowski was trying to suggest, can we have access to the RV site, the north sites, from the south? And so there's two different things, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now there's a conservation easement on the west side of this property that prevents the applicants from doing any development in there. They can run their sewer below grade on it, but they can't do anything on the surface. And then the other portion that is available to them has been considered basically lake bottom. And what Ryan was just saying is that they can't fill the lake bottom, and therefore a road can't come from the south. It can't go through the conservation easement, and it can't go through what's considered lake bottom. And Ryan, did I summarize that properly?
Yeah, I failed to mention the conservation easement that's out there as well. More or less talking about that area where he's got a path right now with some boards.
So the only access to the north property by road is from UT 275. And they currently have access. They have an existing conditional use permit. And I guess I could, do you want me to read the existing conditional use permit so you know exactly what that is?
Well, I'll leave that up to you if you feel we should hear it.
Yeah, so the existing, and this is a conditional use permit that was approved in 2001, to construct and operate an RV park and campground consisting of no more than 30 campsites, shower house, fee booth, dump station, combination storage building, workshop, and possibly 3 cabins. And then it's on both parcels. They own 2 parcels, but it's all adjacent to each other, and it includes the parcel that's north of the canal and the part adjacent to Wrights, and also the parcel that's south of the canal and has access off Highway 11. So that's what's allowed. And their current proposal is to amend basically this original 2001 conditional use permit by adding 14 additional campsites. And I believe they're proposing, if that was approved, that they would eliminate the 3 cabin sites. And their proposal is 12 on the north property, 12 campsites on the north property, and 2 more on the south property. So it would be a total of 32 on the south and 12 on the north.
All right. We're going to go back to the citizens here who've been waiting. I think you were first, Mr. Youngkie.
I just wanted to say there are 2 things that I thought were pretty interesting today. One was the Stoiber letter. I think that was well written, well thought out. And the other is that I feel there's some compromising going on, which I think is good. And I congratulate the people that are working hard toward that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ewald, did you have your hand up earlier or somebody did over there? Okay. So we'll go to you, Len.
I would like to, there's a lot of issues here. And, it's always interesting to allow or not approve something as long as it's not next to you. You can do whatever you want. I can't address the road, and I can't address some of this other stuff. But I will say this. I hear a lot about it's going to destroy my values, it's going to do this, and it's going to do that. And that's a high traffic area anyway, even without the campground, the public access. I know that area very, very well. I snowmobile it this past winter. I've been snowshoeing in there and all that kind of stuff. I honestly, when you say something's going to devalue my property, and I get that actually quite a bit. I get people in Rainier saying, got a railroad next to my property, I want my values reduced. I've had people out on the lake say, there's property next to mine, it's a dump, they don't pick anything up, I want my value reduced. But for me to, number one, reduce a value, it's got to be reflected in the sales of the property. In other words, when I look at the sale of a property, it has to be determined in there that they paid less for this property because of this, okay? And I'll stick my neck out here. There's no way this is going to devalue your property on the lake. No way. I mean, if you see what's going on the lake over the years, it's always like, if you got property on the lake, your value is going to go up. We had 2 sales within a quarter mile of this place just last year. And what's interesting is one of the sales, my value was $243,000. It sold for almost $400,000. And that's with the RV park being in there for, what, a year or whatever was in there. And there was another sale out there within a quarter mile of this where it sold for $60,000 more than what my value is. So I get this a lot, when somebody calls up and their value goes up, they say, well, I never could get that for it. Well, I'm telling you, if you got lake property, you're going to get that for it. And I know it's easy for me to say, I don't think you need to worry about your value going down on the lake. I really don't. That's any property on a rainy lake is like gold in the bank almost. I mean, people just kill to be on that lake. So I would like to put that to rest. I honestly don't think there's any issue with property values going down because of this, this RV park. That's all I can address.
Well, I would like to respond to that. Well, first of all, you can't say the property values won't go down because the north side hasn't had 17 large, giant RVs, trailers placed there with docks. But the thing is, Mr. Ewald, I believe that's your name, it's not about the money. If you ask any of us contiguous neighbors, that was the very last point that was addressed. However, that was one of the main issues in the zoning ordinance, and property values will be affected. I mean, we all know that. But it's not the issue here. That is not the issue for all of us that live there. First of all, it was environmental that was brought up, first of all, by Dr. Stoiber in the very first meeting. Then the safety issues, then the road issues, then the fire. Property money part came in at the very, very bottom, and the concern was not brought up about property values. That never hit the top of anyone's list at all. We simply said there's things that are worth fighting for more than money. We didn't want this proposal pushed through just as, okay, let's get a little bit more business for the local businesses. The park's already successful. The park is busy. They have a viable business right there. What was proposed is this huge expansion on the north end. And seriously, you have to look at the fact that 17 RV trailers with accompanying boats and the traffic and the docks will be placed on a pristine piece of property, one of the few undeveloped left in that area. We We do not want, I mean, just for the safety and environmental factors alone, this is not about our property values. Yes, I'm sure we don't like it when you sell our property and leave. That's not the issue, and I don't believe any of these people want to leave or that. And in our lifetime, my goodness, we're not going to sell. That's what Mary brought up. That's what Mrs. Wright brought up. That's what Dr. Stoiber brought up. We want to preserve what's there. And this is threatening everything that we care about. The environment, safety, fire, noise. The existing park was buffered. It was cared for. It still is. It's a great business. None of us have a problem with it. We do have a problem with this, and it isn't all about the money, because nobody's going to sell their property because of that. And nobody did before. We actually supported all that. It was like, yes, let's let everybody have access to the lake. No problem. Bowman's Landing is really busy. No one complains about that. This is different. You know, you kayak back there, there's deer back there, there's loons, it's still nesting areas, wildlife, the noise. There's no dogs there. Like, I don't even see how anybody can possibly navigate in that bay were they to put these. Now it's 12 trailers. It's really 12, 14, 20, it doesn't matter. They're huge trailers. We see them all the time down here. It's like they're monster things. They don't fade into the background, and Mrs. Wright is correct. In our lifetime, I don't care if you plant 500 trees, we're never going to have a buffer zone. It's going to immediately and adversely affect everyone. And the safety thing is probably of paramount importance, but the road issue is probably the biggest issue that is pivotal in this whole thing. And that also affects the safety. I mean, my God, you're going to have a person out there, a person directing traffic. Okay, you stop here. I've got a big trailer coming in. Whoops, you're going off the road here because there's no room. I mean, seriously, it's absolutely, it's just unbelievable.
Could we ask the board to look into, to talk with the county engineer on this?
Well, I think maybe that's something we can look at, but I think in the interest of time here, we're at noon, and I've tried to let everyone speak, and I think it's time to bring it back here to the board and to the other couple. So, go ahead.
So speaking about this, raw land of undeveloped pristine property, that is exactly why we purchased it. And then knowing that we're approved for 3 cabins, right, that could be large cabins, a commercial storage building, this will all produce more traffic. So I kind of want to talk about the traffic and the concerns, because I do think that, that we should talk about them. So the majority of the resorts and business owners in the area have been operating for years, and it shows that it works. Some resorts, I question whether you can get an apparatus at all to, a fire truck, a medical rig. And others would require them to back up thousands of feet on any given weekend. These are talking about way more people than would be coming into this area, right? We're talking about narrowing of roads. We're talking about hills. We're talking about dirt roads with no turnarounds. My property does have a turnaround, and the medical and fire first responders will have the ability to drive in here and turn around. And I know this works because they've done it before on my other property. We've had a situation where the medical team had to arrive to our property, and they turned around with no problem. And because I was on the medical team, I was able to be at the head of the backboard and assist the medical team. And I did fire 1 and 2 with hazmat with Chief Manassa. I believe that a fire and medical responder coming down UT 275 will only be benefited by that turnaround.
Anything else?
As far as what Georgianne Wright stated about the 6-foot fence going all the way to the lake, if it goes all the way to the lake, it obstructs our view of the lake. So I don't understand how that's any different than what they're complaining about when that's our piece of property. We should be able to have the view of the lake like they do.
By the way, I want to acknowledge we have a recovering county commissioner back there back when. Hi, Steve. Go ahead, Terry.
I just got a few questions. One is, do you guys have a boat ramp on here? Okay, so you have a boat ramp, so that isn't bothering not at all. When you guys, how long ago did you buy this property?
In 2017.
Okay. We've been always looking at this part of property to develop
fully.
How long has that area with all the, I know there was past people that wanted to develop it. How long back, does anybody know how long all that goes back to?
2001.
All right.
Further for the dredging. Sorry, 2001 for the original conditional.
Goes back to Bowman.
Yeah.
We watched the whole thing.
It's further than that.
Back into the 70s.
There was a conditional use permit applied for by Mr. Bowman in the 70s for a marina, and that's where the dredging started, I guess.
So that's how the permits were.
That's correct, and that was approved for that at that time. And then in 2001, the owner, Stephen, I can't remember the other two names off the top of my head, but
Koochiching and
Koochiching and Fedorko.
Yep.
They owned the property and they applied for the conditional use permit that is existing, that was approved in 2001. And then obviously in 2017, they sold the property to the applicants, and they're the ones that actually developed the RV site. And as part of that process, there was a discussion about sewer, and they've agreed to have the sewer, connect to the Jackfish Bay sewer system by 2023, regardless of what happens here today. So I mean, the whole RV park will be connected to city sewer by that time.
Well, I think we've had plenty of people expressing their opinions here, and we certainly appreciate that. I don't know if people are aware, but we have never, in the 30 years I've been here, overturned a position of the other board. I mean, that's why we have the citizens board, and so in that sense, I mean, we've always gone with what they finally come up with, because they're the ones who sit and hear it. Now that it's come to us, I can tell you over the years, there are oftentimes, actually, we make adjustments here, but we don't overturn the findings of the committee. But there are times we've changed things, to make what we felt was right. In fact, I can think of 3 times where we actually went out and reviewed property, held off on the decision, went out and reviewed the property so we could all see it, and in this case where there's so many filtering opinions going in different directions, I think the county board should put this on hold and maybe try to set up for next week. I don't know if we got a meeting next Tuesday? Okay. Maybe for the next Tuesday, that would give us an opportunity to go out and actually look at this. And it would give everyone a better idea. The road, I mean, I'm familiar with this stuff, but I don't think you guys are. And it would give us an opportunity to look at everything and then come back and make a final decision, which would be in 2 weeks. But that's just my thought.
April 12th is the next.
April 12th, yeah.
It's awful hard to make a decision on this one, where all these things we're talking about, and even, and I'm familiar with it, but even a couple of things that were brought up here, I wasn't quite sure how that approached. So it just go ahead, Terry.
I'm be an unfavorable person, but I think.
Well, is there a possibility
Hold
That's
it.
enough.
Hold it.
No more.
Can't talk
Wait.
anymore.
Oh, we've got the board talking now, so I've got to go with them here. So hang on.
Sorry.
Yeah, hang on.
I looked at this, and I've looked at these maps, I've talked to everybody, I was at the hearings by video, because I really was, and, you know, I see everybody's point in regards to what the issues are, and this has happened many times before, but you gotta take the overall good, and I think the overall good is to pass this, so I think we should pass this, because we had our zoning board, go through this for 2 times, and then they passed it. We asked them to do that. We said we didn't want it to come here for us to have to do it. They did it. So I'm not gonna overrule them on this, because we never have before. It's not that I haven't talked enough. I talked just to get my last few questions here. And though I understand all the issues, that's something the road has to be fixed, and we'll work on that. I think we can take care of that.
Okay, well, that's a position.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I sat in on those uncomfortable meetings as well. You know, it was good. It was good to see the community people coming together to care about their area. And that is important. It's important to me. It's good to see that. I hope it continues. But I also got to look at it from every other point of view, as well as a property point of view. If I were to own that property, I look at it like that. I'm thinking, now why? I want to be considerate, which I believe the Rubbins are being considerate. I think that they are trying. I do believe that. And I do feel that they follow and have answered these 5 questions that are within this packet thoroughly. Now, the only maybe for me personally is the road. Now, it sounds to me like this road has been an issue for the residents living on that road since forever, because it's a narrow road. It was never brought up as an issue until they wanted to use the road. So if it was an issue before, why? I guess I look at it as how come it's an issue now. If it was a problem before, it could have been addressed maybe before, so you can pass halfway down or something like that. And I've talked to Trent and I've talked to Dave. You know, unrealistically, we cannot build a driveway for the Rubbins, obviously. They do have a use of that road to get to their property, just as you do, just as everyone that lives there does. You have that same opportunity on your deed to have that use of that road to get to the Rice property, to cross the other 2 properties. But I'm not going to say without difficulty and without extra study, and looking back in the history of this, back to 1961, when there was some first proposed development, to 1973, to where there was some, again, development, kind of, you know, what do I want to call it?
Stages.
Stages, yes. I mean, this has been going on for 60 years or more, 70, 80 years nearly, with that particular piece of property. Now, I understand change is difficult, but I also understand that what is there now was approved in 2001, and the beginnings of that approval was in 1973. And over the years, it has evolved slowly, and it still is evolving slowly. And I think it has been slow enough, to be honest with you, about development. I think it is time to move and act. I don't feel that is going to overburden the residents. I think there can be some conditions and stipulations set within the CUP to address privacy concerns, road concerns. I think we can study this a little bit more. We can come up with some ballpark, spitball type figures for the road. I think we can figure out stipulations for privacy. However, I do disagree that they do not have use of their property. That's one thing, if I owned it, I would want a view of the lake as well. That's my property, I bought it, I paid for it, I want a view of it. So for anyone to say, well, I don't want to look at your property, well, I don't want to look at yours. You know, that's unfortunately how I look at it. And I want to get along with my neighbors too. And you know, sometimes fences make good neighbors. That's just the way it is in certain circumstances, and maybe this is one of those circumstances, you know. Unfortunately, however, I do think with all the positive reviews and all the study that I've done personally, that Matt has done personally, we spent a lot of time looking at this. I went into the history of this. I've asked a lot of questions, some of them foolish, some of them pertinent, and I do feel comfortable as well moving and to approve with conditions on this parcel, CUP change.
What conditions are we talking?
Well, I personally would like to see a fence not to impede the view of either property from near shoreline, extending 150 feet easterly. I don't know that the whole property is quite honestly necessary. I think we're going to take care of headlights and immediate direct views from their house and backyard. by doing that, just pacing it out. It is approximate. I would prefer a privacy fence until foliage can mature, and obviously not to impede the existing properties, as well as you have to follow all the state, federal, local rules, regulations, permitting processes, and so on. And I would along with that, I would also include the requested 14 CUP RV sites, with 12 to be placed on the northern parcel of the property and the other two to be on the southern parcel of the property, and remove the 3 cabin language within the CUP 0106, and to leave unchanged the storage workshop
Oh my God.
garage or storage building, excuse me. And I would offer that as a motion written if you need.
You have that, Betsy?
I do have that, thank you.
All right, I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Kevin, anything? Actually, we took Kevin out once on a similar deal and we lost him out in the woods.
Well, let's go look at it.
Remember that?
What?
But anyway, I'm not kidding about that. I'm not kidding about that. We actually were looking at a very similar situation where with the easements and stuff, and it was surrounded by water. And we took, the whole county board went out there. Well, like I say, probably one of the 3 times we actually went out and looked at it because it was so remote and we couldn't tell what we're all talking about. And we got back to the vehicles. We're missing Commissioner 80.
You guys knew I couldn't walk that fast, so you guys hurried up and got out of there.
We had to go on a whole other retreat. Took quite a while to find them, and then we drug them out of the woods there. So anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, so
Excuse me, so now you're adding in a giant storage space too? They didn't even ask for that.
Excuse
Why
me.
would you add that in?
Mr. Chair, please.
After
Just let her
overriding all of the citizens' concerns, and is there a reporter there from the Gazette listening to all this? Because it's astonishing.
Okay,
I hope there is.
okay.
First of all, I'd like to know who made the motion, and then how did you happen to just throw in, oh, let's give them a giant storage unit too?
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Barb?
Who made this
My name is Jason Schoblum. I represent District 4 for Koochiching County Commission. And have you read?
How did you come up with that addition? I mean, now they took 2 trailers out and you're throwing in a storage facility?
Okay, but Barb, let's let him answer here just a second.
Please don't interrupt. Thank you.
I won't.
Thank you. The storage building is in the current CUP 0106 from 2001. We're not removing that from this request. I was just clarifying that. I should clarify, furthermore, I will clarify that all remaining language within the CUP other than what was added or modified will remain in the CUP 0106.
Right, and then if you're modifying the motion to put a privacy fence in, can we request a privacy fence on the other side of the bay so we don't have to see this? Because whatever they plant will take years.
No, maybe not.
All right, let's bring it back to the board here now. So if we're going to go out and look at it, when we may make some changes, that would be the time to make the motion, is in 2 weeks when we've done that. It makes sense to go and look at it. There's things some of the things that we're talking about in here today, I didn't realize. So I mean, I know it helped us the times we went out and looked at things, didn't it? When we came back. Again, we've never overturned the committee. So, but we have made adjustments to help the citizens, and I think that's a good way to do it.
Well, these adjustments are appropriate. That was motioned, and I still feel that we need to move forward. I think we spent a lot of time on it. We did have 2 meetings. The only hiccup, I believe, in that first meeting, there should have been a motion to extend the Planning and Zoning Commission for more information. And
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, man.
So we did send a letter out to the applicants extending the time frame the time frame to make a decision. So there's timelines that the county board has to make a decision by. It's May 7th. So
Well, I'm talking 2 weeks.
right, no, and so May 7th is would fit within your timeline that you're talking about. But I just let you know that that letter was sent and that timeline is extended to May 7th. So just.
You know, it's my district, and I'm familiar with the area, and I'm not totally sure of everything, so that's why I'm saying this is, when I look back in the 30 years of history I've been here, this one really needs us to go out and look at it. So, and then we know what we're talking about.
How's the time frame work for if we extended it?
So April 12th, I'll be at inspector school for the NPCA. I will be gone that entire week. But timeline, you know, I'm trying to figure out how I plan for city sewer. So it goes right down to engineer work to verify, right? Because if I change this from cabins, which is currently in play, just so you know, the flow will actually decrease because it's actually less on this property than what was pre-approved for. But then I have to get state permits. I have to line up the crews to make it happen. I'm worried about timeline a little bit because I have to have it done before the fall. Because I think that any good operator would never do the work in the spring when you have, you know, $50,000 of payout money to you know, give them a service for. So I'm trying to ponder on that in a very quick statement, and I'm not sure of the answer.
It's cutting it extremely close for us to line the work up to have it done.
Could the sewer extension, or the date for the sewer to be completed be extended? What's magical about June of 2023? What happens?
It was the agreement. That was the agreement when the initial.
Yeah, but what's the impact? What I know that's what the agreement was, but what's the impact? What's the environmental impact of that?
There would be. Right now, they are currently hauling their sewer. They have a holding tank and they haul their sewer. So the difference would be that they would no longer be hauling their sewer, and it would be entering the Jackfish Bay sewer system rather than a haul.
Yeah, that was my question. Can we extend that by a year or something?
You know, that the board can decide whatever whatever you
Because
choose.
I remember we had that agreement, but I mean, in light of everything that's going on here, rather than rush into something, I can't see why we couldn't extend it for a year so that they can get settled.
Yeah.
I would even wait on development then.
Yeah,
I mean, just to make that clear, I would wait on development.
That would help you too?
Absolutely.
Goosebumps.
We're willing to put off if we can have that date extended. The reason we can't put off is if we have to hook up because of the astronomical fees.
Well, to me, that makes sense because they're in such a crunch time trying to do all this. And I mean, the system they have has been working. I've had no complaints whatsoever. And Matt's been out there.
Yeah, and I don't see any issue with doing that. It just would need to be formalized, I guess.
By us.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
So we would add that to the next agenda, and then by the time we have the next meeting, we can all go out there and take a look. I mean, that just seems to make a lot more sense. And that would help you also.
At the next meeting, will it be open for everyone to fight against it again? I guess is my question, because if he's not, he's our number one who knows all this stuff. I don't know that I'd be comfortable here alone without him. So that makes me a little nervous if it were on the 12th and he's not here.
Is there any day that
We were extending the deadline. Couldn't you extend the meeting date out too? Because I understand her concerns. Absolutely. Then can't the meeting be also pushed back and giving them a year extension? I mean, there is no rush on this. There's a lot of other people involved here.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
We got to bring it back.
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt, Barb?
Yeah, please.
If you do decide to, I was going to bring this up, but then Barb jumped in. If you do want to, you can always call another meeting at any point if you'd like to do that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Do it till the 12th.
yeah, it gives us flexibility if we can, and I think everyone here agreed that they would be willing to extend that. I guess
there's a motion.
We should know that.
There's a motion and a second accepted.
Well, are you extending it even if
Well, no, we're just talking here now. So we'll bring it back here. So technically, yeah, there's a motion, and a second to move it right now.
Can we table it until the 26th?
That's what I'd like to see, yeah.
I'll make that a motion.
I have to rescind my motion. And I really think this has drug on long enough, so honestly.
So have I.
And it's like kicking the can further down the road.
Yeah.
Some of the legitimate concerns are legitimate concerns. Some of them are not. And I think if you're being honest with yourselves, which I am, I think we all know what they are. Now, traffic, that's a legitimate concern, but it's not a legitimate concern of what they're trying to do. That's a legitimate concern for boaters, kayakers, swimmers, roads. I don't tell my kids to go play out in a road. Is it a slow road? Absolutely, it's a slow road. But do I want them to be careful? Absolutely, I want them to be careful. And I would expect the people living on my road where I live to watch out for kids, because there's lots of kids around.
Let's stay calm here, and let's bring it back to the board here.
We are the board.
So
We are the board.
So we have a motion and a second.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Shobham.
Yes.
And I'm fine. Any further discussion? If there's 2 no's, then it dies anyway, and it goes on to the next, which I think we should.
So are you?
No, we're done, ma'am. Thank you. So we're back to the board. Any further discussion?
I will, for further consideration, rescind my board motion of approving and accepting it to further extend the Board of Commissioners looking at the property and possibly extending the service agreement hookup for Cole and Carrie Rubin. Once Matt gets it written up to possibly for a consideration.
So we could just put it as part of the conditional use permit. That's part of it.
Okay, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So that's a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'll second.
And we've got a second. Any discussion on that? Something we can all agree on.
Could you read that?
Table on that.
Thank you.
Repeat the Betsy, I guess you should repeat the motion.
Well, I was going to ask if you could repeat that motion because I didn't quite catch all of it. Here's what I have started with. Jason rescinded his original motion.
Yes.
And now he has added that we would like to have the board, to give time for the board to go out and actually look at the property, and then the possibility of extending Rainy Lake Vacation Campground date to have the sewer hooked up to Jackfish, is that correct?
Correct.
But that could be addressed in the next in the motion for the conditional use permit.
Yeah, that would be on the future potential CUP change or addition.
But it would really help them out too. So that's the good thing about
Absolutely. If this can be amicably resolved, I certainly don't think that to further torment them basically and the residents, honestly, there needs to be some closure too. So I think that's what I'm trying to get at. And I know our planning and zoning looked at it. We had extensive conversations and discussion. So I just want you to know that we did look at this very closely, and it's not just here and again for me either. I've spent lots of nights looking at this stuff and talking to Matt lots of times, and highway engineers lots of times. So just so you know that we are really trying to do the right thing here, and I believe in our board too, and I believe in the system and the process. Like Commissioner Pavlik stated, they've been around a long time as well. Some of those folks on that board have been, they're alive long. They've been on the board longer than I've been alive, you might say. So they do have some experience and stuff that I do appreciate and respect. So. But yeah,
we have too, since Steve and I started here 30 years ago. We've never overturned them, but we have made adjustments, just like we're talking about here, to make it work for everybody. Matt?
So basically, you're tabling action right now.
Yes.
Okay.
When's our next board meeting, Betsy?
April 12th.
Okay.
The next one after that would be the 26th.
Will you be back then? Okay, so maybe that'd be the time. When we go out there, I'd like it if you could be there, you folks.
Yeah, me too.
And anyone's welcome, obviously, so.
So the 12th you'd be back? Or the 26th?
26.
All right.
26th.
Thank you. Yep.
So, the 26th, do we have a board meeting that day?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So that wouldn't work for going, what I'm getting out is for us to go out and do the,
We do that
the review.
12th.
Yes, you won't be.
So
He won't be here.
Who won't be?
He won't be. He leaves Sunday.
Well, we could go on any day that you're back. We don't have to do it on that
that's
day.
true.
We could go, a week before, a few days before, whatever.
Well, with our schedules, though, we'd have to set a date because
Yeah.
we're all
So
over the
give me your
map.
date that you're back, so they know.
Yeah, I will be back the following week.
And then you could,
I'll be back on the 16th. But I'll also be here available on the 4th through the 8th of April, or the 18th to the 22nd before the meeting.
Are these?
Does April 5th work for the commissioners?
Yeah, April 5th is a Tuesday.
Works. Well, yeah, because we're not having a board meeting then. That makes sense.
Correct.
Tuesdays were always available. That's the easiest.
Right.
That work for you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
And it works for you?
Correct.
Perfect. Do you want to set a time too?
Yeah, what time?
Yes.
9:30?
Perfect. That's just kind of the general time we start at anything.
So right now I have nothing plowed.
So I was just going to say,
I
what
don't
about-
operate
what
year
about-
round, and if I did cabins, that'd be a year-round operation. But RVs would be seasonal, meaning I don't even plow anything.
Can we get into the property now, or is there a bunch of snow?
The county had plowed up a little pile, but I'm sure that diminished by now. We can drive in and turn around in there if the snow's gone. But it's going to be muddy then.
What
That's always an issue.
date did we set? April 5th? Was it?
April 5th. I'm wondering if later would be better.
I got sewer.
What would be better?
Later would be better, just
Alright.
for the weather in general. And then we could park on the north property and
So 2 weeks from after that would
the
be
south
what?
property.
The 19th.
19th. Would that work for you?
Yeah.
And by then, we should be able to watch.
We're hoping.
Yeah, you never know up here. All right, April 19th, 9:30, and we'll be meeting, might as well all meet out there, right?
Could you get a GPS for
For us to get lunch.
So we don't lose them.
We all went back and found them. And Chuck Lepper was with us yet, but we had fun.
Are these meetings always at 9:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, I mean, there's times we change
Right.
it for some reason, but almost always 9:30. Because especially Terry doesn't get up till about 9.
Stop it.
All right, any other questions, comments? Thank you, everyone, for being here. These are not always easy, but we'll get through this and try to make everybody somewhat happy. Thank you.
Somewhat happy.
And
Everybody.
thank you. I can't believe you got all this.
Well, I hope so.
Betsy, it'll be much smoother when you're
Mr.
back here.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Have fun.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Did you ask for public comment?
Public comment.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Not yet.
That's right, we can't adjourn.
I'm sorry about that.
Wait a minute, yeah, hold it now, everyone. Yeah, the last thing on the agenda is public comment. And we had quite a bit of it here, but is there any other public comment? Steve.
I would just like to add in one.
Hold it, Barb, hold it.
Hold it, Barb.
Yep.
Somebody was talking inside.
Yeah, Steve?
Steve Early and
I'd just like to say thank
Steve, come on up.
you for keeping
I'll
it
let you sit down.
And I think
this has nothing to do with you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Early, and the city is going to be coming to the county board, I would guess fairly soon, about the annexation of all the airport property. And so I'm here to express some of my initial opinions on that. And they're going to ask you for a resolution to support that annexation. And as adjacent landowners to the airport, we're concerned that if that annexation does occur of all the airport property, then that would set up the adjacent property owners for the city would be able to forcibly annex our property into the city, which we're not so much in favor of doing that. We're in the country. So, it might be a couple of years ago, I think, when the city came and asked for annexation of airport property, and we dropped our concern when we heard that it was just for the airport terminal. Well, now it turns out, just a couple of years later, that the airport or the city council is looking at
all of the airport property. So that changed pretty fast, and that's what we're concerned about for us, is that that would change too, even though there may be assurances now of not forcibly annexing property, that can change as it did within 2 years. So I would like if the county board could really study that annexation request and fully understand it and what it means to adjacent property owners. Thank you.
I would just add, I couldn't agree more, and we were on the airport commission, the two of us. Whether they can do it without our approval, I mean, that's kind of an issue there because of jointly owned properties, et cetera. One of the reasons, in my opinion, that's always been a success, that partnership between the city and the county, was because the property line runs right down the middle of the airport and it's shared. And, I know the people who are trying to get that annexation through says, well, that doesn't matter at all, but I think it has over all the years. So, and I know, Bob Anderson, who I was with at the airport, and he was chairman all those years. He wouldn't have even considered it if the county didn't approve it. So I hope we can go there. But if they do forcible annexation, I'm not sure legally how that. We haven't gotten into that. So the first we heard of it was just last Tuesday, but I guess they had talked about it in December, but we didn't know that. And so we'll see where that goes. So I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple things to add to that, too. I'm Robert Ewald again. I live on 332. Now, I went around, I didn't go sit at the grocery store or anything. I went around to all the property owners with property adjacent to the airport, except for maybe 2 of these are not adjacent. And everybody is opposed. I'm going to leave you a petition. I didn't have time to make you copies. Everybody is opposed to the city annexing any more airport property. And I drew this up. If you want it drew up different, I can draw it up any way you want it. And I'll go talk to these people again. But they have their names and their address. And these are people that are abutting the airport property. So they're not out in Ericksburg or Ray or the lake or anywhere else. So I want to leave that with you, and I hope you'll look at it a little bit and take it into consideration.
Does that include Old Highway 11?
That is Old Highway 11. I went only basically on the east side of Old Highway 11, where the airport is. I did get, like I say, there's 1 or 2 others, but that's almost all of them are from there.
West side of the airport.
The west side of the airport. And also, other thing I want to say, as I understand the reason, the city's real shaky on the reasons, but from the rumors I've heard, they're eventually going to want to annex the old Ewald property. But they have absolutely no agreement in writing from KGM. They have no idea the cost to put sewer and water out there, which got to be over $1 million for a mile of sewer and water. And they have no idea how they're going to pay for it. So this annexation deal, I'm sure hoping the county board will just oppose it and say no, and then you'll end up in court again with the city. And you're right, the airport commission works great, and I think if you guys give the city all of the property, you will be basically out of the airport commission.
Yeah, there'd be no need for us to be there. But didn't they say that somebody was okay with it when they were talking to us? I thought
the people that want to annex that property.
Didn't say what
I know. Wait, I think that was Walt Buller saying about me, and I think there's a misunderstanding because I was talking about, I called him on KGM issues.
Okay.
And he assumed or he understood that I was calling about annexation. That wasn't the case.
Okay, that makes sense because I was surprised at it because they made that statement. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Susan.
Well, thank you for bringing it.
I have nothing to say.
She left the county behind and didn't look back. Well, it's good to see you folks. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So,
now you can move.
Always something.
So need a motion to adjourn?
I say now
Yes.
we can move.
Yep.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.